We are back live from ISTE 2015 with the Edutopia and the Edcamp Foundation. Welcome, everybody. How are you?
We are awesome.
Awesome.
How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. We've had a great time here at the Bloggers Cafe. Let's do a little introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
My name is Beth Hertz, and I am the treasurer of the Edcamp Foundation, and I blog for Edutopia, so I'm kind of a bridge between two organizations. I teach kids here in Philadelphia at the Science Leadership Academy at Bieber, and that's a little bit about me.
And I am Hadley Ferguson. I'm the new executive director of the Edcamp Foundation. After spending years in the classroom, I am now supporting Edcamps around the world.
Yeah. And lastly, I'm Elana Leoni. I'm the director of social media strategy and marketing at Edutopia, and I work closely with these two wonderful ladies. So it's nice to be partnered with organizations that care about educators as much as they do, and to represent educators in the field with their authentic voice.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Edcamp just celebrated a birthday. Are we 6 years old?
We are officially 5 years old and in our 6th year. So we have we've had the 6th Edcamp Philly. So we are moving forward, and there are Edcamps around the country who are also following along in that and having been around for 5 years as well.
And not only Edcamps around the country, but the unconference model is happening all over the place.
Yes, it really is. There are a lot of districts that are adopting that model for some of their PD, which is awesome, because anytime we can give teachers a voice, that's significant.
Now, Mary Beth, what have you seen around here? I mean, you've been to many Edcamps. How have you seen Edcamps and the unconference change over the last couple of years?
What's pretty amazing is we started Edcamp Philly, and we really didn't know what was going to happen. And what's been amazing is these Edcamps are happening without us, and that people are embracing the model, embracing the framework that we put out there, and the whole kind of vibe of the unconference, and doing it on their own. Not always on their own. We do work with the individual Edcamps to support them and help them with questions and things like that. But in general, I mean, the whole movement, as people tend to call it, has really been created by the people doing the thing. So it's been pretty awesome to watch. And
it is important to notice that if you are running an Edcamp and you need help, people can reach out. Tell us a little bit about that, and you've got an Edcamp package for you, right?
Well, if people are interested, they can go to edcamp.org and connect with us, and then we will set up conversations with established organizers to help new organizers figure out what they need to do. And those phone calls are really pretty significant, because we want to be building the community. We want to be actively connected with the people who are running Edcamps. And then we've started a program called Edcamp in a Box, which is where you request from the foundation a box, and it will have everything that you need to host an Edcamp. So it's going to have a $200 gift card for your breakfast. It's going to have name tags and Post-it notes and painter's tape to make your session board, markers, pretty much anything that you need. And we have some fabulous sponsors in ed tech companies who have stepped forward to sponsor boxes for us, so that we get swag from them, and that goes out in the boxes as well. So it's been very effective.
I love how Edcamp is evolving, and there isn't a weekend around that isn't Edcampified at some point. But we have something special coming up. It's soon, Edcamp Leader, which is actually going to be a world country. Tell us a little bit about what's happening here.
Edcamp Leader is happening in 17 locations around the country, and the push by the organizers in each of the different areas is to bring in superintendents and principals so that they can experience what an Edcamp is. Now, because there are Edcamps, also anybody is welcome to come to them, but the organizers are really reaching out to the leadership in their districts and states to try to get them to come and participate in an unconference and see the dynamic of that experience.
With all of the teachers doing this free professional development, teacher-driven, how does Edutopia fit into all of this?
Wow. We truly believe that professional development has to be differentiated, it has to be relevant, and it has to address real-time needs right now. So a lot of what Edutopia does is, well, everything that we do is 100% free, and that's core to our mission. We will never not be free. We are here for the educators. Our founder, George Lucas, likes to call them warriors, and arming the warriors with the swords of the education, materials, and revolution. So for us, we like to support teacher ground-up movements like the Edcamp Foundation and all the Edcamps and any kind of unconference, because at ISTE we had a Teach Meet as well, and that was really powerful, just to see, hey, we can learn in different ways. And as adults, we tend to teach with all these innovative ways. If you're reading Edutopia or any other resource, we have all these great ways to teach kids, but then we resort to PowerPoints. We resort to rows. Like, I'm about to present tomorrow, and there is like the cheap seats and the rows are like super tight, and it looks scary. Like, this is learning. So for us at Edutopia, we always try to reinvent what learning could be with 100% free videos, resources, our Schools That Work series, our fabulous community, which Mary Beth is a part of. So that's just a little bit of what we do with that.
Talk a little bit about your work with Edutopia.
So I've been blogging for Edutopia, and now you put me on the spot. I don't remember when I started, but for many years. And when I was
5 years,
I was going to say, something like that. And so when I was offered the opportunity, it just seemed like a no-brainer because I actually had been reading the Edutopia print edition, and so I knew of the organization. And it's been really awesome because what Edutopia does is that's different than a lot of other places I've written for is they really created a blogging community within the bloggers themselves. So on Friday we had a summit where all the bloggers got together. We talked about the direction of the organization and some of the upcoming themes. We actually got to brainstorm some of the themes. And so what makes Edutopia different, I think, is that they really are on the pulse of what is going on and what teachers are doing and what is, and I hate to say what's hot, or what's trending, but that is the reality, I guess, the term that you would use. But it's not in a way that it's like, oh, this is content that's going to drive traffic so we can make money, because as Elana said, it's not about that. It's more about how can we drive traffic so that we get these resources in the hands of more teachers.
Yeah, and we can truly improve education. At the end of it, Edutopia is constantly trying to reinvent how do we measure that? How do we truly measure impact? Because that is what our board looks at. That's what our founder wants, is to improve the K-12 learning process. That's what we're here for. It's for those students to become these active citizens that we're all proud of and that can interact in environments that we don't even know of.
Well, one of the things that I know Edutopia is working on is something called Schools That Work.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So Schools That Work is really the heart and soul of what our founder, George Lucas, is just really passionate about. It's a series that goes around the country and documents what's truly working in education. I know that's a big thing, say, okay, this works, because that's like, all right, how do you say it works, and what is your criteria? So we're really kind of down this path of uncharted territory, of looking at all this data and synthesizing it and saying, okay, what is making this school work? And what are the key practices behind the school that's making it work? And then how can I tell the story that's going to inspire someone to do it? So giving them those breadcrumbs of replication as well. So it's a video-based series, but it has resources and downloads. It connects you to the people in the school to ask those questions that you need. And we're seeing tremendous reach in Facebook in particular. So we put a video out on Facebook, and people are asking, wow, how did you do that? And did they have problems doing that at recess? Like, they're really working through how they can actually do that. And for us, that makes me smile even just thinking about it.
Yeah,
when people are
so
like,
exciting.
how can you replicate that?
So what can a teacher do to reach out and be a part of this? How do the teachers find all this content? How can they use it in the classroom?
In terms of Edutopia, we're 100% online, so we're at edutopia.org. If you don't go to edutopia.org, which many of our audience doesn't, which is great, we are on Facebook. A lot of our audience is interacting there. Twitter has always been a really popular avenue for us, and then we're developing our Pinterest and Instagram. I almost wanted to call it Pinstagram.
Well, what is the difference there? Can't one piece of content be multifaceted, or what?
No.
Tell us a little bit about this philosophy here.
So there's certain types of channels that like different things. For example, video is really great in Facebook, but it's also somewhat good in Twitter right now, but they're still really inventing that. Our Twitter audience is generally looking for resources, links, sharing, that kind of thing. Whereas Facebook, they're not sure what they need yet, but they might lurk. And they lurk by clicking on a video and just watching a little bit of it or sharing, or a lot of times they just tag people. So we're seeing a lot of like colleagues tag their other colleagues. Sometimes it's hints, is like, yeah, we should do this. Or like, hey, so-and-so, we just did this yesterday. So it's a different kind of interaction, and they like different types of materials in different spaces. So we're constantly navigating that because that changes all the time. But then you have visual mediums like Pinterest and Instagram that are 100% visual. Their goal is not to drive traffic. Their goal is to really just, how can I improve their day? Whether it be an inspirational image about how awesome it is to be a teacher, or maybe a classroom poster that they can put up in their room, whatever it may be. So there's lots of different mediums, and we're trying to constantly navigate what the best venue is for our audience.
Well, where do you see the next couple of years going with Edutopia? What's on the horizon here?
In terms of channels,
In terms of anything?
I mean, we are definitely going to be growing out our Schools that Work series. That is the heart and soul of what we do. But we also, to what Mary Beth was talking about, our community of bloggers and our community of influencers. Some people don't know, but we have, I call them a cadre, but of facilitators out there that help further conversations on edutopia.org and in our social media spaces. So sometimes if a teacher is on Facebook and ranting about the bad day they had, first of all, it's a compliment they're doing that, because they went to us and did that. And we have that opportunity to turn it around. And as somebody who works for Edutopia, I haven't been on the ground. I don't know what they're feeling right now. But I have about 25 different facilitators that do, and that can go in and say, hey, I hear you. That happened to me last year, and here's what I did. Right? So we're really proud about our communities are led by experts, and that can jump in. And we're going to be building that out tremendously in the next 3 years, too.
You know, when we're here at a conference at ISTE, and I'm looking around here at the Bloggers Cafe, there's about 200 to 300 people that are all sitting here networking and collaborating together. Why is it important that a group like Edutopia and the Edcamp Foundation find this harmony?
Oh, I think it's important because most of us are working to be change agents, and that can be a challenging space to be in. And to build the community of support so that you don't wear out and burn out, but you continue to be energized, because for all of us, it's all about the students. The end result is to make things better for kids. And so the more that we can move towards change, the better it's going to be for the kids. And the more we support each other, the easier that is to do.
And it can be isolating, the feeling of somebody who constantly wants to improve. They aren't doing it to one-up their colleagues. They aren't doing it for, recognition or praise to move up the corporate ladder, whatever it may be. They're doing it because they truly enjoy their job, but they know that they can always be better. Right. Like, we call it that growth mindset. So that's how I hire people. I'm like, tell me about a situation where you knew nothing about something, but you were able to get to here. So being able to take ownership of that, and I think communities like the Edcamp Foundation and Edutopia, we welcome those, those loners out there that do feel isolated. And I'm personally working, that's my passion, to make sure that they don't feel isolated. They can use tools like Twitter, like Edcamp, like Edutopia to connect with each other more, so they don't feel so alone. Because it just breaks my heart when I hear people that are keynoting ISTE and say, hey, my district doesn't even know I'm here.
You get that a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
You get that an awful lot. Or you get the people that are, I'm afraid to tell people. And how do we break that barrier?
I think it just, one Edcamp leader, I think is a great step in that direction.
Yes.
I'm actually going to be going to one in LA and supporting that movement, because I feel like the more we can get top-down support, we have the ground-up movement.
Yep.
We need this top-down recognition. And part of what Edutopia tries to do is appeal to all stakeholders in education. We typically call them change makers. So they're educators on the ground, but they're also policymakers. They're also administrators, and they're also parents. We need to get everybody on board, because otherwise we're just working this way in the educator realm. And then parents are like, whoa, hold on, and they're dragging you back. We have to make sure everybody is on board. And not only on board, but they're excited to go in this direction.
And I noticed Edcamp is doing that. Again, we have Edcamp Leadership. I've seen Edcamp Common Core. I've seen Parent Camp. It seems like there, and I know there's one geared for students as well. It seems like the idea of the unconference and PD, we are making a little bit of a dent in this.
I think we are making a dent. I think that I feel like we're sort of at a tipping point where the sense that it needed to be top-down, heavy authority is shifting, and there's more of a recognition that all of the stakeholders should have a voice, whether it's the parents, it's the students, it's the teachers, it's the administrators, that all of those people have ideas, that they're all committed to the kids, and we need to be giving them all a space to talk.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing that, it seems like the obvious win here, but the number one thing we see trending in Edutopia is student voice. Teachers want to hear directly from students what works. Hearing it from a teacher is great because there might be colleagues who are in the same situation, but actually hearing from students what truly engages them, what truly excites them, and what do they want to get to do, and what are they passionate about. It's just so lucky to be here at the Bloggers Lounge because I meet people that have changed my life. I got a taxi with Angela Maris, and I was like, wow, what you say in your talking points about tell kids, ask them what breaks their heart. Like, that has changed so many. I go to ed camps and I talk about Genius Hour, and people go, wow, if you say it that way, they are now passionate about something, and they feel like they can change the world.
Right.
Let's talk about pre-service teachers, because as we're getting new teachers coming into the educational sphere, it is important that they understand that these programs are out there, these resources are available. And I want to give a shout out to a friend of all of ours, Lisa Dabbs, who's listening right now. She's doing some amazing work with NT Chat for New Teacher Chat. What can we do to help out those 19 to 22-year-olds as they're entering, as they're getting ready? What can we do here other than just say, come to an ed camp?
It's hard because new teachers, and Lisa will agree with this, once they're in the classroom, they are so overwhelmed. There are so many things that their schooling did not prepare them for that they're like, I just need to get through the day. And so the last thing on their list is, I need to go to Edutopia or get to an ed camp, because these are unknown things that they're really not sure of, you know? But they need to. It needs to start from the beginning because we do see teacher turnover so dramatically in those first 2 years. So they need that support. So in particular, Lisa is one of our bloggers, and she has written a ton for us on new teacher support, resources, anything from classroom management to burnout to dealing with parents. We have it, and what our mission right now at Edutopia for the next 2 years is how can we package this in an easier to find way? Because right now, Edutopia is a 20-year foundation. We've had a magazine, we've had video content before people were doing video. So we have this labyrinth of content, but we need to make sure that we're sense-making about all the content. So imagine a new teacher toolkit where someone can go, okay, here's something about learning spaces and little things that you could do with learning spaces and new teachers. Here's something about classroom management that they don't teach you in school. So that's kind of our focus with new teachers on how to do that. And then also trying to work with some College of Ed specifically and learn how they use materials. What do they need the most and how can we help them?
Yeah, I think that reaching out to the ed schools is really one of the next steps that we need to be figuring out so that the new teachers can experience when they're in training what some of this learning is like. I helped with an ed camp that was held at Arcadia University here in Philadelphia for ed students. And it was an important thing to be doing because they got to experience how do you have conversations as learning strategies rather than just lectures.
The other benefit I could see would be that this would really open up the idea of that community support for teachers to new teachers. Because it's that feeling of being overwhelmed and isolated, and you end up going for strategies that focus on compliance and getting kids to do what you want them to do, because that's what you think you should be doing, and you don't really know how to get out of that unless you're in these sort of experiences and you have one of these sort of experiences. After my first ed camp, I went back to my school, which was a high school at the time, and we set up one of our assembly days turned into an unconference day. We polled the kids ahead of time to find out what conversations they wanted to have. We assigned the conversations to different rooms, and everybody went to the room that they wanted to be in and had the conversation they want to have. Now, when you ask high schoolers the conversation they want to have conversations about gender identity. They want to have conversations about depression. They want to have conversations about stress. They want to have conversations about things that adults are not comfortable with, right? As the English teacher, we might get into a couple of those, but I'm not going to bring up a gender identity conversation because that's going to come back and, I'm going to get blowback from that. Right. But the kids wanted that. So we set up the safe space. They had the conversation, and we did a couple of those over the course of the year, and it got teachers and kids working together on this. And it gave that. I was in the room about depression, and it was depression and loneliness, and it was a room packed full of kids that wanted to talk about depression and loneliness, right? There's some sort of not just irony there, but like it's pointing
Right.
to the problem, right? Everybody's feeling isolated. You have a community of isolated people,
Right.
and they actually were able to be like, oh, you're having this conversation too, and you have these questions too. We took what is never spoken on campus and we talked about it, and it was transformative.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's an honesty in ed camps that I've never experienced before. I went to a session called Teacher Confessions, and it was a couple years ago, but we were honest that we don't know it all. And sometimes we do things like do worksheets just for the sake of it because our brain is exploding. And, sometimes, we do want to compete with our colleagues. And, like it was just so, seeing it, it was almost like people were like just letting it all out. And it felt so good for having this safe space in ed camps that I don't typically see. Like I feel in the Bloggers Lounge it is quite safe. But in a session, you're not going to be honest. You're not going to be like, yeah, I do that too. Everyone's kind of like polished and not really talking about the mistakes they make. Which is kind of ironic, right? Because we're teaching our kids fail and be proud of your failures.
Yep.
But we're still like, I didn't do that.
We're here live from the Bloggers Cafe, and if you are watching, thank you so much for joining us. We have a very, very lively chat. I want to remind you that we are here every single Sunday night at 7 o'clock for the Tech Educator Podcast. And, as we start ISTE here, it's really day one. Do you guys have a favorite ISTE moment you want to share?
I think our my ISTE with Edutopia started quite earlier. Mary Beth alluded to a summit that we had. Sam was at the summit as well. So for me, that was the highlight so far because it was just full of people that I admire so much with so many great ideas and so much passion about how we want to change education that I walked away from that. I'm like, oh God, I'm done. This is great, we truly care about not only what Mary Beth was trending and what's relevant, but what's going to make the most impact. And so we were able to brainstorm all the topics that can help people. I just walked away really inspired from that.
Nice.
But I do feel like just having conversations in the Bloggers Lounge and networking and being able to test out all the new technology. I was hanging out in the expo hall and I was just, wow, things have gone so far in even just a year. And
Nice.
ISTE is the place to see that.
About yourself?
Yeah. No, I would say it's the conversations that while sessions are, they're interesting topics that you can learn more about. It's really the conversations. And for me, it's seeing people that I sometimes don't see from one year to the next, but they all come together for ISTE. And that I think is that community of EdCamp people, of people that I know on Twitter. It's just wonderful to be all in the same space and share.
Well, Sam, we've been here since 8 o'clock this morning. This is wrapping up day one here. I want to say thank you. And please, if you're out there watching, give yourselves a round of applause. We have had people here from Sydney, from Saudi Arabia, from Montreal, from Boston, all around. Switzerland, from... And guys, seriously, thank you out there. And I think we all need to give a big round of applause one more time to Craig Yen.
Yeah, I was about to say, I saw him in the chat there. And if we don't say hi, I'm going to say hi.
He's absolutely fantastic. Guys, tomorrow, I just want to share with you who's going to